2016-17 Kashmir unrest reactions. India. Reactions of government and politicians. On 9 July, Home Minister Rajnath Singh appealed for people to maintain peace and calm in Kashmir. On 10 July, the state government appealed to all the political parties including the separatists for help in restoring normalcy in the valley. Separatist leader Gilani agreed and asked the Kashmiris to remain disciplined while Farooq ridiculed the appeal for help. Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir Mahbooba Mufti appealed for calm in the state on 12 July. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed concern over the unrest in the state and appealed for calm while assuring help to the state government. The opposition Congress Party chairperson Sonia Gandhi expressed deep anguish at the loss of innocent lives. She pointed out the considerable advances made over the last 2 decades and appealed to Kashmiris to let the political parties find durable ways of fulfilling people's aspirations. Congress also dispatched a fact-finding team made of senior leaders Ambika Soni and Salman Khurshid, who criticized the government for discontinuing the development policies and for the excessive use of force in dealing with protesters. The party has demanded an all-party meet to discuss the Kashmir situation. Women's activist and CPM party leader Kavita Krishnan termed the killing of Burhan Wani an extrajudicial killing. She pointed out the Supreme Court decree that required every single encounter to be followed by a FIR and a magisterial inquiry. On 17 July, Minister of State for External Affairs Vijay Kumar Singh urged people of Kashmir to cooperate with the government and stated that they are being misguided by unwanted elements. On 19 July, Home Minister Rajnath Singh blamed Pakistan for the violence in Kashmir. In a statement to the Rajya Sabha, he said, "Whatever is happening in Kashmir is Pakistan-sponsored. The name is Pakistan, but its acts are not impure." An all-party meet involving all political parties of Kashmir was held on 21 July with the aim of building a consensus on measures to restore normalcy. The Jammu and Kashmir National Conference boycotted the meeting, blaming the government for the situation in the valley. A 2-day visit by Singh beginning on 23 July was announced, in which Singh will visit Kashmir in order to try to calm down the situation and review the law and order situation. After arrival, he held a meeting with some local entrepreneurs, houseboat owners, Muslim clerics, members of the Sikh community, members of the Kashmiri Pandit community, and civilians. The meeting was boycotted by several trade bodies, with their officials saying that they boycotted the meeting due to killings of civilians and past meetings produced no results. Later in the day, he met Governor Narendranath Vohra and Chief Minister Mahbooba Mufti. On the second day he met leaders of various political parties and members of civil society, with the Congress party boycotting the meeting. Congress leader Sonia Gandhi on 28 July expressed anguish over the loss of lives and injuries in the region while appealing to the people of the valley to maintain calm. The party later criticized Mufti and for not knowing about Burhan's presence during the encounter and blamed the unrest in the state on her. It also criticized the Union government for continuing talks with Pakistan despite the unrest. Supreme Court of India on 29 July sought a report from the Union government over the situation in Kashmir while assuring that it will give all possible help to Kashmiri civilians. On 8 August, leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha Ghulam Nabi Azad said the Prime Minister must call an all-party meeting to discuss this situation, which should be followed by an all-party delegation to the region. An all-party conference on the unrest was announced on 10 August along with a visit by an all-party delegation to the region to hold talks with various sections. During the meeting held in New Delhi on 12 August, various suggestions were made for restoration of normalcy. On the suggestion of holding talks with separatists, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the decision to hold the talks will be taken based upon the prevailing situation. Former Home Minister P. Chidambaram on 17 August blamed the state and union government for the unrest in the region, which he stated was sliding into chaos. A meeting of all opposition political parties in Jammu and Kashmir was held on the same day with resolutions demanding probe into an inquiry by a retired Supreme Court judge over allegations of use of excessive force, special assembly session on the unrest and the start of a political dialogue with Pakistan about the Kashmir dispute were passed. During the meeting, the participants also decided that a delegation of opposition political parties will meet the President Pranab Mukherjee over the unrest. On August 19, 2016, former Chief Minister of Kashmir, Farooq Abdullah stated that Indian forces were unleashing a reign of terror in Kashmir that would damage India's global reputation. On the same day, the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of India's Northern Command reached out to separatist leaders, stating that their help was required to restore normalcy in the region. In addition, A delegation consisting of opposition parties from the state met the president and requested him to impress upon the union government to initiate a political dialogue with all stakeholders and to acknowledge it as a political issue. They also requested the president to impress upon the government not to use lethal force against civilians and claimed that instead of the government, it was the opposition parties were taking steps to restore calm while also blaming it for the unrest in the state. The delegation also met the Prime Minister on 22nd of August, submitting a memorandum to him in which it demanded that the central government start a political dialogue with all stakeholders to end the unrest and ban the use of pellet guns. During the meeting, Modi expressed concern over the situation in the state and asked all political parties work together to find a permanent and lasting solution. Janata Dal, United, on 21st of August advised that an all-party delegation under the leadership of the Prime Minister or Home Minister should visit the region and hold talks with mainstream parties for finding a way to restore normalcy. Arun Jaitley on 21st of August dubbed stone throwers as attackers while blaming Pakistan for the unrest and stated that there will be no compromise with people indulging in violence. The Home Minister again visited Kashmir on 24th of August to hold a dialogue with various stakeholders. On the first day, he took a review of the security situation in a meeting which was attended by top army, police and state officials. He advised them to use maximum restraint while dealing with protesters and appreciated their efforts in keeping law and order. He also held a meeting with delegations of several political parties. Most of the parties demanded resumption of initiation talks with separatists. There was also a near-unanimous consensus among political parties regarding a ban on use of pellet guns. The meeting was boycotted by many trade bodies of the state. Singh also met with State Governor N.N. Vora, who briefed him about the internal security situation in Kashmir and steps needed to be taken for restoration of normalcy. The next day, the state's chief minister held a press meet along with Singh, which she stormed out of after getting upset over allegations of her government's disproportionate use of force while criticizing Omar Abdullah's government during the 2010 unrest. Singh promised to look into alternatives to pellet guns and also stated that he is willing to talk with separatists. Mufti, while meeting with Modi over the unrest on 27th of August, called for creating a mechanism of interlocutors to hold talks with all stakeholders and blamed Pakistan for fueling the unrest. The next day, Modi said that unity and compassion were the twin mantras for solving the Kashmir issue and criticized those inciting the youth of the region to violence, saying they will have to answer to them someday. He also deplored the loss of life in the unrest, saying that the loss of anyone's life was a loss for the whole country and they should do whatever it takes to restore peace in the region. On the same day, Mufti said that talks should be held with anyone willing to reject violence and restore peace in the state, while also stating the format of dialogue needs to be better than past attempts. She also criticizes people instigating the youth to violence. An announcement regarding an all-party delegation scheduled to visit Kashmir on 4th of September was made on 29th of August. The delegation was announced to being led by Rajnath Singh with the goal of holding talks with various sections of the society in order to restore calm in the region. During a press conference with United States Secretary of Defense Ash Carter on 30th of August, Indian Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar commented on the unrest, stating a small percentage of people were holding the majority at ransom in the valley. The all-party delegation that arrived on 4th of September met various representatives on its first day of visit. The separatists refused to meet the delegation, while Mufti wrote a letter inviting them for talking with the delegation. A delegation of the ruling party that met the all-part delegation stated that there was an urgent need to initiate a result-oriented dialogue to solve the Kashmir issue. A delegation of National Conference stated in a memorandum to the all-party delegation that the frequent unrests in Kashmir was due to a sense of alienation among Kashmiris that arose due to the Union government's refusal to address the injustices meted out to them in the name of national interest and integration. On the same day, Mufti commented that there was a need for unconditional dialogue with all stakeholders. Some members of the delegation tried to meet some of the separatist leaders who however refused to talk to them, excluding Mirwais Umar Farooq, who briefly talked with All India Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin leader Asaduddin Owaisi. According to Owaisi, Farooq had told him that the separatists had decided not to hold talks because the government was not serious about political dialogue. Rajnath Singh criticizes the separatists for not talking with the members, saying they did not believe in Kashmiriyat, Insaniyat, humanity, and Jamhuriyat, democracy. The visit of the all-party delegation concluded on 5th of September. In its two-day visit, It met with over 30 delegations comprising over 300 members representing various sections of the Kashmiri society. 21 Sufi clerics met Singh on 6 September and requested his permission to carry out an Aman Yatra in Kashmir and hold talks with the locals. The clerics also stated that no dialogue should be held with separatists and alleged Pakistan was being behind the unrest. On 7 September, the all-party delegation that had visited Kashmir asked the central government to hold talks with all stakeholders, however, stated that there could be no compromise on the issue of national sovereignty. On 10 September, National Conference expressed grief over the deaths of protesters and stated that the situation was worsening with every passing day. It alleged that the chief minister of the state was being insensitive and ruthless. On 11 September, Rajnath Singh directed the security forces crack down on all those who were instigating the youth in the region in order to restore normalcy. Reports. In March 2017, India Today, after conducting an investigative operation in the valley, has reported that the stone pelters stated they are paid for protesting though couldn't disclose their identity. India Today interviewed 5 protesters from Baramulla district who confessed on camera that they are paid an amount of 5,000 rupees 7,000 rupees a month and are also provided with clothes and shoes. One of them also said that separate funds are given for making petrol bombs. They refused to disclose the identity of the financiers. In April 2017, a report by Indian Intelligence Bureau, IP, has stated that an uprising was planned in the valley by Pakistan much before July 2016, and that Baran Wani's encounter helped the Pakistan's intelligence agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence, ISI, ignite rebellion across the valley. The IP report said that IC supplied 800 crore rupees to Kashmiri separatist leaders including Syed Ali Shah Gilani and Asiya Andrabi to fuel unrest in the valley. As per the report, the funds supplied by the IC were used to pay off stone pelters and petrol bomb throwers, and also to propagate anti-India and anti-security forces sentiments in the valley. Others. An Indian Army veteran penned an open letter in mid-July, stating that Wani would have died anyway even if he managed to escape as he was a terrorist and all those who conspired to take away Kashmir from India will be met with an iron hand. South Asia Director of Human Rights Watch, Meenakshi Ganguly, said that stone pelting does not give the police a free pass to use force. She pointed out that the main grievance of the protesters is exactly the failure of the authorities to ensure human rights. Writer Arundhati Roy asked for an honest conversation about what kind of azadi, freedom, the Kashmiris are demanding. Panun Kashmir, an organization for displaced Kashmiri Pandits, said on 22 July that the Union government should recognize the fundamentalist upsurge in Kashmir and asked it to take immediate steps to prevent it from becoming an Islamist-controlled territory. It also demanded that the government publish a report detailing attacks on Kashmiri Hindus. Hurriyat chairman Syed Ali Shah Gilani on 16 July wrote a letter to several international bodies and heads of states in several countries outlining 6 measures that the Indian government should take for return of normalcy in the valley, acceptance of Kashmir's disputed status along with right to self-determination, demilitarization of the valley, repealing of IFSPA and the Public Safety Act, release of all political prisoners in Kashmir along with restoration of their right to political activity, allowance to all international human rights and humanitarian organizations for working in the state and ensuring free political space to all parties in the state. A Facebook spat erupted in August 2016 over the unrest between Rufata Salam, Kashmir's first woman Indian police service officer, and Harmeet Singh Mehta, the SP of Sapri after the former criticized the PDP. This led to a series of exchanges between the two. In a video that went viral on 15 March, Hizbul Mujahideen commander Zakir Rashid Bhatt asked the stone pelters to attack the security forces for the supremacy of Islam and not for nationalism, telling them to check their motives and not fall for nationalism. In the video he stated that he observed that the protesters were mostly fighting for nationalism which was not permitted in Islam. He also criticized the separatist leaders and threatened the local police as well as police informers. Pakistan. On 11 July, Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in a statement expressed shock over the killing of Baran Wani and other civilians by the Indian security forces. He also said that it was deplorable that excessive and unlawful force was used against the civilians. The Indian government responded by saying that the Pakistan government's view on Wani's killing reflected its association with terrorism and advised it to refrain from interfering in the internal affairs of India. On 13 July, Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff Raheel Sharif condemned the killings of protesters by Indian security forces. Sharif declared Wani as a martyr on 15 July and said 19 July will be held as a black day to express solidarity with Kashmiri people. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs in response criticized Pakistan for glorifying terrorists belonging to proscribed terrorist organizations. The observance of the Black Day was postponed by Pakistan's government to 20 July while 19 July was instead observed as Kashmir's successsion day to Pakistan. A rally called Kashmir Caravan organized by Jamaat-ud-Dawa, JUD, and led by Hafiz Saeed was launched on 19 July at Lahore in support of the freedom demands of the Kashmiri people. Members of various religious organizations are expected to join the rally. The rally's objective during the first phase will be Pakistan's capital Islamabad. During the second phase it is scheduled to reach Muzaffarabad and Chakoti. In the third phase, the rally is planned to cross into Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Black Day was observed by Pakistan's government on 20 July as scheduled. All government officials were directed to wear black armbands and prayers for Kashmiris were scheduled during the afternoon. In addition, all diplomatic missions of Pakistan were scheduled to hold special ceremonies to highlight the issue, and overseas Pakistanis would hold demonstrations outside offices of United Nations around the world. In a special message, Sharif said that India had no option but to accept defeat in front of the freedom wave in Kashmir. Sharif declared that Pakistan will approach the United Nations Human Rights Council on behalf of itself and Organization of Islamic Cooperation to request it to send a fact-finding team over the killings of civilians in Kashmir and banning the use of pellet guns on them. Pakistan's ambassador to the United Nations Malia Lodhi met with UN officials on 19 July in which she briefed them on the situation in Kashmir and forwarded letters by advisor to the Prime Minister on Foreign Affairs Sartaj Aziz, who raised the issue of civilians being killed during the unrest and said that fundamental human rights of Kashmiris were being violated. A JET official reported on 25 July that a 30-member medical team of its Muslim medical mission will apply for visas to India in order to treat the injured Kashmiri civilians and will seek help of Pakistan's government in getting the visas. The mission's president also threatened to hold demonstrations if the Indian government denied visas to it. The Indian embassy in Islamabad did not allow the team to enter its premises when they went there to apply for visa on 26 July. However, the team was able to apply for a visa through the internet and courier. A caravan of the JUD bringing relief material for the Kashmiris was stopped on 2 August by Pakistani security forces at Chakoti. The organization declared that they would not leave unless India accepted the relief material. On 1 August, the Parliament of Pakistan unanimously passed a resolution criticizing the alleged human rights violations in Kashmir by Indian security forces during the unrest and demanded the UNRWA to send a team to the region to investigate it. On 3 August, ahead of the SAARC Interior Ministers' Conference, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif called the situation a new wave of freedom movement, and said, "The Kashmiri youth are writing new chapters of sacrifices to get the right to self-determination." On 6 August, Pakistan's government also offered to provide medical treatment to people injured in the unrest and requested on the international community to ask the Indian government to allow it to provide treatment to injured Kashmiris, which was disparagingly rejected by the Indian government. On 26 August, Sartaj Aziz met ambassadors of United Nations Security Council and European Union. In the meeting, he briefed the ambassadors about the killings and human rights violations by Indian security forces in Kashmir and deplored the use of lethal force against innocent civilians. On 1 September, Foreign Office spokesperson Nafis Zakaria stated that Sharif had written another letter to Ban Ki-moon alleging the situation in Kashmir was deteriorating and requested him for sending a fact-finding mission to probe alleged human rights violations in the region. On 6 September, Awaislagari, who was a part of the delegation of 22 members of parliament selected to highlight the situation in Kashmir, briefed the presidents of Human Rights Council and International Committee of the Red Cross over the alleged human rights violations committed by Indian security forces in Kashmir during the unrest and spoke out against their use of pellet guns. On 7 September, General Raheel Sharif stated that the solution for the Kashmir issue lay in heeding to the voices of the Kashmiris and respecting their aspirations, not in firing bullets upon them. He also alleged that Kashmiris were suffering from worst form of state terrorism and repression. On September 13, 2016, Nawaz Sharif dedicated the festival of Eid al-Adha to sacrifices of Kashmiris and stated that their voices cannot be suppressed through force. President of Pakistan Mamnoon Hussain in a message also stated that people of Kashmiris were atrocities for their demands of self-determination and Pakistanis must support them. During his speech at the United Nations General Assembly on 21 September, Nawaz Sharif dubbed Burhan Wani as a young leader who had emerged as a symbol of the latest Kashmiri intifada while calling for an independent inquiry into the alleged extrajudicial killings committed by Indian security forces in Kashmir. On May 30, 2017, the Punjab Assembly unanimously adopted a resolution demanding Pakistan's federal government to immediately take up the issue of violence in Kashmir to the United Nations. United Nations. United Nations Chief Ban Ki-moon conveyed his concern over the Kashmir tense situation as reported by his spokesperson Stefan Dujarric and called for maximum restraint from all parties. He also offered mediation between India and Pakistan for solving the Kashmir dispute, provided both countries agreed to his mediation. The United Nations Human Rights Commission requested the Indian government to let it visit Kashmir in order to investigate the alleged human rights abuses. However, the request was unanimously rejected during a meeting on the unrest in New Delhi on 12 August by all political parties, alleging it to be an interference in the country's internal affairs. On 17 August, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Prince Said bin Rad appealed to the Indian and Pakistani governments to allow its observers access to the region. On 12 August, Ban Ki-moon responded to a letter by Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on the Kashmir situation, stating, "I deplore the loss of life and hope that all efforts will be made to avoid further violence." The United Nations remains convinced that it is only through dialogue that the outstanding issues between Pakistan and India, including on Kashmir, can be addressed. On 13 September, Prince Said again requested both the countries to grant unconditional access to observers for probing human rights violations in Kashmir. United States. Spokesperson John Kirby, while briefing the media in Washington on 12 July, said that the United States was concerned about the violence in Jammu and Kashmir, during which 30 people have been killed by Indian forces. Elizabeth Trudeau, Director, United States Press Office in the Department, who briefed the media on Thursday, July 14, 2016, said that the U.S. is concerned about the violence and deaths of civilians in Kashmir and stated that the U.S. government was in touch with the government of India as well as the government of Pakistan. Kirby again addressed the situation in the valley during late July, expressing his government's concern about the violence in Kashmir and called on all sides to find a peaceful solution, while stating that the American government was in close touch with the Indian government over the issue, according to a statement issued by the office of the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. The Prime Minister met Senator John Kerry in September, and both of them expressed their strong concern over the violence in Kashmir, particularly the attack on an army base in Uri. On the contrary, the official press release by the U.S. State Department mentioned that Secretary Kerry reiterated the need for Pakistan to prevent all terrorists from using Pakistani territory as safe havens, while commending recent efforts by Pakistani security forces to counter extremist violence. European Union. In a statement issued by its spokesperson Michael Mann on 28 July, the European Union expressed its condolences to the civilians killed and injured during the unrest, while urging the restoration of calm and maintenance of law and order in the state. He also urged India and Pakistan to involve people of Kashmir in the dialogue process over the state. Organization of Islamic Cooperation. In July 2016, Organization of Islamic Cooperation's (OIC) Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission expressed serious concern over alleged human rights violations in Jammu and Kashmir by the Indian military and paramilitary forces. In August, OIC Secretary General Iyad bin Amin Madani, during a press conference in Islamabad, said human rights violations in Kashmir were not an internal matter of the Indian state, adding, "The international community should raise its voice against the atrocities in India-held Kashmir. The situation in Kashmir is heading towards a referendum. No one should be afraid of the referendum, and the solution should be through the United Nations resolutions." On 19 September, the OIC's contact group on Kashmir met on the sidelines of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly. Amin again expressed concerns over the situation in Kashmir and called for an immediate settlement of the dispute in accordance with wishes of Kashmiri people and resolutions of United Nations Security Council, while calling on India to immediately stop committing atrocities in Kashmir. The Foreign Minister of Turkey emphasized the need to resolve the dispute, while Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister called on the OIC to explore innovative means to highlight the human rights violations occurring in Indian-administered Kashmir. China. The spokesman of China's foreign ministry, Lu Kang, in a statement to the press, expressed the government's concern over the casualties due to the unrest and called for a proper settlement of the Kashmiri issue through peaceful means. Pakistani media reports claimed that China's Prime Minister Li Keqiang assured his country's support to Islamabad, emphasizing a better understanding this Pakistan's position on Kashmir by the international community, adding, "We support Pakistan and will speak for Pakistan at every forum." Li also encouraged a escalation of tensions between Pakistan and India. But on the other hand, the official press release by China's foreign ministry on the meeting between Keqiang and Sharif made no mention of Kashmir whatsoever. Turkey. Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu in a joint press conference with Pakistani Prime Minister's foreign advisor Sartaj Aziz on 2 August said that his country backed Pakistan's position of sending a team from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in order to probe the alleged human rights violations in Kashmir. He also said that his country hoped the Kashmir issue will be resolved through dialogue. Italy. Pakistani media reports claimed that Italy's Defense Minister Roberto Pinotti, while on a visit to Pakistan, said the use of force and lethal weapons by security forces against civilians was unbearable, and that Italy would apprise the international community concerning the situation in Kashmir. On the contrary, the official press release by Italy's defense ministry on the Italian defense minister's visit to Pakistan made no mention of Kashmir or pellet guns. Belarus. A press release by Pakistan government mentioned that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, during his visit to Islamabad in October 2016, exchanged views on the situation in Kashmir with his Pakistani counterpart, Nawaz Sharif. The two delegations released a joint statement underlining the need for a resolution of all outstanding issues between Pakistan and India, including the Jammu and Kashmir dispute, through peaceful means and in accordance with UN Security Council resolutions. On the contrary, the official press release by Office of President of Belarus on the visit made no mention of Kashmir or UN resolutions. Amnesty International. Amnesty International accused Indian security forces were using arbitrary and excessive force to deal with the protests in Kashmir. It also stated that their actions were a violation of international standards and were leading to a worsening of the human rights crisis in the state. The organization also criticized the use of pellet guns, stating they had been used 100 times in Kashmir during the first week of September 2016, even though its use was meant to be rare. It called for their ban, stating they were dangerous, and also expressed concern at the deployment of pava shells in the state, as they could be used in an arbitrary or indiscriminate manner. While following a seminar on human rights abuses in Kashmir, Amnesty International was accused of sedition in India. Human Rights Watch. In July, the Human Rights Watch, HRW, urged Indian authorities to credibly and impartially investigate the use of lethal force in Kashmir. HRW's South Asia Director Meenakshi Ganguly criticized India for previously ignoring the finding of abuses under the draconian Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Later in October, the HRW urged Indian authorities to end the use of the Jammu and Kashmir Public Safety Act, PSA, to arbitrarily detain people, including children. Reactions against use of pellet guns.